Hi, I'm Fred Reed from Oswego County today, and today we are here at Oswego County Federal Credit Union in Oswego, and I'm with Brian Cummings, Executive Vice President of Data and Technology. A lot of people are worried today about cybersecurity and what to do about it and what's happening. So we're going to take some time today with Brian, who's an expert on this, and find out what we should be doing. So Brian, thank you very much for taking some time with Oswego County today.
Thank you. I think this is important information that everybody should get to know.
It is. It's the digital age is an ever-changing age almost from day to day. So let's start out with right to it. What are some of the common fraud schemes that people should be aware of?
Sure. We still see some of the more common ones like romance scams. Those have been around for quite a while, where somebody will befriend you on the internet. Typically it's a lonely person. They will talk to you for months to get you to believe that they are truly in love with you, and eventually they will get money extorted out of you. Those are always tough on our staff because essentially that the members are coming in thinking that they are sending money to a loved one, and here we are the ones telling them that this person's not legitimate and that you are most likely falling for a scam. We're seeing a lot more trends with newer technology as well. One of the ones that we're seeing a lot more of is phone number spoofing. What that is where somebody can call you and they make it look like on your caller ID that they're calling from a legitimate place. Take us, for example. Somebody could call one of our members and have it look like it's coming from Oswego County Federal Credit Union, while all along it's not. Legitimate businesses will use this in certain cases so that if they're contacting somebody on behalf of a business, that person knows that it's part of the business, that
Right.
why they're being called. Unfortunately, fraudsters have realized that they can do this as well and make it look like they're calling from a legitimate business to get your personal information and trick you into thinking that you're really talking to somebody of our organization. So you got to watch out for that. Some of the newer stuff that we're being warned about more coming down the pipeline are things called deepfake. What that is there's artificial intelligence being used to digitally create somebody's voice.
Right.
And it's astonishing how much you can make somebody, a robot, basically sound like a legit human. I've actually seen it in practice where a gentleman who's aware of this kind of stuff and who trains our staff on this kind of stuff took his son and had his son record a sentence of his, and he created it into this whole conversation in which the grandson or his son called his grandmother and was able to trick her into giving him his driver's license number and social security number just by asking simple things about like updating his insurance.
Oh, wow.
So that's the scary stuff that's coming down the pipeline.
Well, we all know the big one that happened during this most recent primary, that they took Joe Biden's voice and called everybody and said, "Don't vote today."
Correct.
I want to go back a little bit. You said something that I found interesting about the the love romance, and your staff, though. It sounds like your staff has a way to kind of spot this happening.
Sure. We train our staff in fraud. We as well train them into asking questions. So if there's transactions that are out of pattern, we're not asking questions to dig deep into your life. What we're trying to do is to help prevent fraud and help save our members from losing money.
They probably see a lot of these members on a regular basis and probably kind of go, "Wait a minute, this is different than their norm," or whatever, right?
Yep, and there's certain key things that'll happen with certain deposits or withdrawals that are almost triggers to our staff to know, well, this sounds like a fraud, and then they will start to dig a little bit deeper to find out, have you ever met this person in real life?
Right.
Have you how long have you known them? How much have you been talking to them? Really, the biggest one is have you ever actually met this person?
Yeah.
And sometimes the answer will be yes, and then a couple weeks down the line, the answer changes to no.
Yeah.
So
it's good. I like the idea that your staff is kind of trained in just spotting little things here and there to try to protect not only your own members, but I'm sure it helps them in their own life and with people that they might know. So that's interesting. That's great that you guys do that. Is there any other like common frauds or really tricky ones? I've been getting calls lately just personally. The numbers look like local numbers and everything, and I pick it up, but they're always trying to, you qualify for, thousands of dollars of loans and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if they're fake or not. I don't know why these people are calling me. The thing that scares me is how much they know about me. And
yeah, well, there are some preventative measures for that as well. I mean, everybody loves their social media. Everybody posts stuff to social media, and the more that you put out there, the more that somebody can learn about you.
Sure.
And then when they do call you, they know all that information. Or if they call a relative of yours,
right,
they know that information about you and can make up a story about you.
Let's go into talking about cybersecurity and best practices then, since you really kind of started with that.
Absolutely. One of the biggest things that I am what's the word I'm looking for? One of the biggest things that I'm a proponent of is adding two-factor authentication to anything that you can. If you're not aware of what that is, that's where you set up that anytime you log into, whether it's your email or your online banking or anything that offers that it will then send you a separate code usually it's via email or text message or an authenticator app.
Right.
Personally, I prefer either the authenticator app or text message, because if somebody has compromised your email, then they just need to get that two-factor sent to their email and they can gain access that way.
Right.
Unfortunately, that if we ever do run across instances where a member has had their account compromised, it always falls back onto their email was compromised, and then their two-factor authentication went through their email, and that's how the fraudster was able to gain access.
So is it, not to interrupt you there, but is it easier for them to compromise your email than compromise your text messaging?
Absolutely. While there is the phone spoofing where you can make it look like you're calling from a specific number, to actually get it to go the other way, you would have to also get into the cellular systems, right, in order to be able to get those calls traced to your phone. So
okay, so people, I got a little question. You're probably gonna hit on this in the next question, but my first one is people emailing back and forth. Hey, help me out with this. Here's my password to my GoDaddy account. But emailing a password or texting a password, if you had to do it, which would you say to do?
I would not email or text a password. I don't believe either way are secure. We do offer text messaging services with the credit union, but we have a secure channel that we will route through before, so we won't text you back any personal information.
Right.
What we will do is we'd send you to a secured location, and then we can chat through a secured encrypted location.
Got it. So I guess that brings us to some preventative measures then. What can people do?
Sure.
To protect themselves?
Well, one, obviously, I would never give out personal information over a phone. If somebody contacts you, there's no need to give out personal information over the phone. We never ask that on our end of our members. So if you are ever asked over the phone for personal information, I would stop and notify that as a red flag, mm-hmm, and either go into the office or hang up and call back. That's another piece as well. If they give you the phone number to call back, do not call back that
right.
number. Look it up yourself, make sure you're calling a legitimate business phone number, and call that number back. Or again, stop into an office.
Right.
I would secure any devices you can. Your phone has so much information on you. Make sure you have a lock on your phone. Whether it's using the biometrics, using your face or your thumbprint, or just plain old passcode. Again, most people have their email on their phone at this point.
Yep.
If you lose your device, you're giving access to your email if you don't have a lock on your phone.
Sure.
And then you can get the two-factor authentications how many
everything.
people have notes that have passwords on there.
And I know people use their phones a lot. I mean, 70% of our readership is mobile.
Yeah,
You know, we're an on-demand people now. So yeah,
absolutely. We're up in the 70% for online banking usage as well as on the mobile device.
Which even worse than emails, like you just said, you're using your online. If you can open up their phone, you can probably open up their online banking.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, thankfully with online banking, again, if you're using two-factor authentication, you would need to get that. But if you're giving your phone and you've saved your password onto your online banking app, and you have the two-factor go into your email, which is right there on your phone, you've basically given them access to your account.
I enjoy the ones that actually make me hold my face up to even log into my banking.
Yes.
And I like that for one, because then I don't have to worry about forgetting my password.
Yeah.
I feel a lot more secure with doing that. You know, just that there's only one person that's got my face
That's correct.
so far. I don't think AI has beat that yet, and we're gonna knock on wood. But what else besides that?
Sure. There's a couple other things you can do. Monitor your credit. Most financial institutions, us included, offer free credit monitoring. You just go in through your online banking and you can sign up and you get notifications of any alerts. On top of that, you can lock your credit for free.
Right.
I personally lock TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax for all of my credit reports. So if anybody tries to create any kind of line of credit in my name, it would get blocked because they can't pull a credit report without me unlocking it. It's really simple. You just, in order to unlock it, you go back in, you set it for a 7-day or 5-day or 1 day or even 2 months. You can unfreeze it, and then it'll automatically freeze back up.
So can your customers, do they have that going through your online banking? They have the availability to lock it and unlock it?
They don't have the ability to lock or unlock your credit. That you have to do through the credit bureaus themselves.
Okay.
We do offer for our debit cards the ability to lock or unlock your debit card though.
Okay.
So if you lose your debit card, you can put a lock on it immediately, and then you don't have any worries that if somebody finds it that they can go spend it.
Which is really important, because a debit card is going to be directly to your checking account, and if
Correct.
you're living check to check, that's devastating.
There's no stopping it once
Yeah.
the transaction's gone through. So,
Right.
I mean, obviously we can dispute transactions, which is good. So most likely we'd be able to get those funds back, but still, it's a hassle. As a credit union, as most financial institutions, I would say their budget for protecting the members' information and access to their funds is just as much as being able to offer products and services to the members that they may like. As a credit union, we are always looking at new ways to protect our members' data, whether it's adding the next high-end antivirus or upgrading our firewalls to prevent any kind of intrusion. We're constantly working with teams to do vulnerability assessments on our networks to make sure that all of our computers and all of our network equipment are up to the highest standards from any software that we are using, or any suggestions from Windows patches, security updates, those kind of things. We also do penetration testing, where we actually have somebody who attempts to break into our network using the latest and greatest measures that are known to break into our network. We also give them then access inside our firewall to act as if they were able to break through that, and then we see how much damage they can do from the inside. And we do that on an annual basis to make sure that we are up to date with every security measure that we can possibly offer.
So I wanna ask two things, because in the old days, like 5 years ago, when we all were using laptops and desktops, we always had to make sure that we had our antivirus software running, and we had to make sure it's up. But we're using phones now. Mm-hmm. We're using mobile devices, and we don't see the same kind of security on there that we had for laptops and stuff. how's the best way for people to secure their phone in their own pocket? I mean, besides keeping it on themselves.
Sure. Again, obviously making sure that you have that security pin enabled on your phone so that you can't just pick up your phone and open it up. There are other antivirus software that you can add to your phone. iPhone does a really good job as far as security, but there is stuff that you could purchase to install on your phone to help you with.
Isn't the best practice to make sure you're always having the most up-to-date operating system on your phone?
Absolutely. You
Don't
should
be
always,
afraid to update that phone.
always make sure that you are doing the latest updates to your phone. Anytime that a security risk has been discovered, they will immediately push out a update as soon as they find out. If they find out, they found out because somebody else has found out that risk, and therefore people are out there trying to exploit that. So as soon as your updates come out, you should update them. As well, I suggest not using public Wi-Fi. Places like that have been compromised. People can get on the public Wi-Fi and access your information that's traveling through that Wi-Fi connection. It is suggested to use a VPN connection if you can. There's multiple third parties out there that you can contract with for VPN connections, which kind of scrambles where your information is coming from so that somebody else can't see it as you're sending it.
Well, a lot of the cell data, the cellular providers nowadays are giving you open, unlimited data, which means you really don't have to get on a Wi-Fi if you just
Correct.
just keep using your data.
Yep.
I mean, I remember years ago, again 2 years ago, you would look for public Wi-Fi because you didn't want to use up your data on your phone.
Yep.
And get charged for it. So I think what you're saying is something people should really pay attention to, because you walk into a lot of places like, here's our Wi-Fi,
Absolutely.
log into it, It's like,
Absolutely.
it doesn't mean somebody parked out front isn't logged into it
Yeah.
too.
Another thing that came out last year, the FBI sent a warning out notifying people not to use USB plugs for charging their phones in especially airports is where they really found it. What they suggested was to bring the actual plug it into an outlet and not use the data, or not use the USB plug, because they have found ways to install malware into those USB ports, which would then transfer to your phone.
I see a lot of people using them too. So I don't want to say anything, but one of my last big questions is who's most vulnerable in all this?
Everybody's vulnerable. Unfortunately, they have geared different techniques towards every age group to try to get them to be susceptible. But ultimately, we find that the elderly tend to be a little more susceptible to it, especially now with things like deepfake and where they can act to be a grandson that's in trouble, or send out information to them via email and here, click this link. Unfortunately, we do see that a lot, and we see that the NCUA has sent out notifications and such to warn us of elder financial exploitation. So we are always on the lookout for it. We are always doing our due diligence when we have any kind of alert showing that there may be some kind of elder financial exploitation.
Anything else you want to add?
I think the only other thing is get as much knowledge as you can on this. There's so much information out there about what you can do to prevent getting yourself susceptible to fraud. That's our biggest thing here is we train and train again. We have quarterly training with our staff to help prevent any kind of fraud, any kind of intrusion. Ultimately, humans are the weakest point of entry.
So your members, if they are worried about something, they can come down and talk to you guys
Anytime.
and say, hey, I'm worried about this. It's kind of weird, and you have people here that are knowledgeable to be able to help them walk them through it.
Absolutely. We 100% would love to sit down with somebody. If they're concerned, we will sit down with them, talk to them about the best measures that they can take to protect themselves.
That's great. I mean, it's scary, but it's to know that there's places out there that people can find the help when they just don't know. Because it gets to a point where you're like, I don't know what's going on anymore, and you got to go ask somebody.
Absolutely.
So that's great that you have the people here that are watching out for your customers as they're coming through the door, and what you guys do in the back end to make sure that your products that you offer are safe.
Yes.
And aren't putting people at risk. So I really appreciate the time. I think this is a problem that's only growing. And the more we can do right down to, like you say, your phone protection, everything can only help you and everybody else to make it more of a deterrent than a possibility.
I agree. Thank you very much for having me. It is very important information. Unfortunately, it's not going away. It's a $1 billion industry, fraud, unfortunately, and it's funny to say, right? But
right, it is.
Yeah.
It's an industry. It's not just a couple of weird guys sitting around in their mom's basement. It's an industry, and some of it comes from other countries, which is harder yet for our own country to protect ourselves from it.
Absolutely.
So. Well, I appreciate this, Brian, and maybe in the future we can talk about something nicer.
Sounds good.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.